They don't like trans people, rightfully so.
Why is it rightfully so that anybody would feel that way?
A detransitioner is somebody who was told they were transgender.
They weren't told they were transgender.
Why would you put a child on hormones without the understanding of the long-term effects?
I don't understand why you were against that, Buck. You did it. You took them. You've still taken them now by the looks of things.
I will leave you with this, which is extremely controversial.
And that, in a nutshell, is why we need activism.
So the motion before the House this evening is this House believes modern LGBTQ+ activism fails its community.
Let's hear from the first speaker on why he thinks modern LGBT activism fails the community.
Opening the case for the proposition is Buck Angel. Buck is a transsexual advocate, educator and personality.
The thing is, they call him a transsexual advocate, but I haven't seen much advocacy. I've seen him throw his community completely under the bus, and it makes me very sad. See what you think.
When I transitioned, it was called the LGBT community. And the LGBT community suffered a lot of homophobia and misogyny, and I would not say transphobia, because at the time, trans people were very rare.
Trans people have never been very, very rare. Trans people have been with us since time began. What's been very rare is their ability to be themselves, to live as themselves, to show themselves, to be safely visible in this world. And they were there, and they were experiencing transphobia, Buck.
We fought for the rights to live our lives in a way that we did not interfere with your lives.
I don't think it's about interfering with your lives or living separately to anybody else's lives. This is about inclusion. This is about everybody's equal. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how you identify. It doesn't matter who you're attracted to. This is just about people living together, not alongside each other, not interfering with each other, just living together.
In my opinion, and in my life of living this way, feels that we achieved that on some level.
Is this just about you, Buck, or is this about your whole community? Is your one experience here speaking for the whole of the trans community? And in your speech where we're talking about LGBTQ plus activism, are you speaking for the whole of the LGBTQ plus community here? That's what I'm finding a bit weird. Or is this just like one experience?
People ridiculed me. People said nasty things to me. My community, the LGBT community, was against everything that I was trying to do.
And that, in a nutshell, is why we need activism. Because today, people are doing exactly the same thing. People are being mean to trans people, people are saying nasty things, and people are trying to exclude them. And that is exactly why we need activism. Buck, you've coined it, but then you're going against it. Don't understand that.
One of the things I was told was that I was changing my sex. I believed I was changing my sex. It took me many, many, many years of standing in front of people like yourself to understand I did not change my sex.
I don't know what the language was 34 years ago when Buck was told that he was changing his sex. The language we use today is reassigning your sex, and that's what the Equality Act says very well. The Equality Act names gender reassignment as a protected characteristic, i.e. you're not allowed to be mean to people who are undergoing gender reassignment, and they define gender reassignment as the reassignment of your sex. So I don't know what you were told, Buck, about changing your sex. But if you mean that you can't change your chromosomes or your biological organs, anatomy, no, you can't. But what you can do is reassign your sex role, reassign the sex that you were assigned at birth. I wasn't a female, I'm actually a man.
And it is extremely difficult for somebody like myself to come to terms with that.
I'm sorry you had a bad time coming to terms with that, Buck. I think a lot of people do. I think it is a difficult challenge to get over. People want ordinary. People don't want unusual. And currently, and 34 years ago, being transgender is considered to be unusual. And that's exactly what we've got to fight against. We want to bring it in and just say this is a beautiful part of human diversity. You've heard me say that before so many times.
And as I move forward in my transition to live as a man, I became a pretty big public activist for transgender rights.
Well, where did you go wrong? Why can't you just go back to being a massive advocate of transgender rights instead of the harm that you do?
I remember gay bashing, getting myself bashed on the streets of Los Angeles.
And that's what's happening today. That's what's happening today. Trans bashing. We're losing the lives of trans people because of transphobia. We are having trans bashing on the streets in America and worldwide. And that is what's happening today. And exactly what happened to you as a lesbian woman many years ago. And that's what we need to be fighting against together.
It makes me emotional today, even to think about it, 34 years later.
Well, have some compassion then. Have some compassion for those people who are going through it now.
Today, I see rights that I never thought I would see. I see rights to live with the opposite sex, with the same sex, I'm sorry. I see rights that are important in same-sex attraction. That's why those words matter to me and to many people in the LGBT community today. That's why sex matters. That's why understanding what sex is and understanding what biology is.
See, I think what Buck is trying to say here is that that he was a lesbian, and that means that he faced discrimination because of that, as did gay people. And so the rights that lesbian and gay people and the rights that lesbian, gay and bisexual people have now, we must hold on to. And that's why it's important to have to keep the definition of sex and biology. But again, it's nothing to do with it. Your chromosomes and your reproductive organs have nothing to do with who you are attracted to. Your chromosomes and reproductive organs have nothing to do with the gender with which you identify. So sex and biology, it doesn't matter. All they do is make your body work and will tell you which hormones you're going to produce and tell you which gametes you're going to produce. Are you going to produce sperm or ovaries? It doesn't tell us anything about who you are or who you are attracted to. And that's the problem. And that's why, Buck, you can go and sit and hug and do kisses and love with Sex Matters, but you're hurting the community big time by joining that viewpoint.
But today I see many people say things like, biology is a social construct.
Who says that? Biology, a social construct. I have never heard that one. Buck, can you please show me where you've got that one from? Never seen biology is a social construct.
You can change your sex.
You can reassign your sex. And that's what we're talking about, Buck. I don't know what your laws are over there, but here in the UK, we have a law that protects people who reassign their sex. That's the law.
You are assigned female at birth.
Yep, you are. You were assigned female at birth, Buck. You had female put on your birth certificate when you were born, even though that was wrong.
These things are not only transphobic, they are also homophobic.
Oh my God.
And I have seen so much change in the LGBTQIA plus MWIPQYZ community. It is embarrassing. It is wrong, and it has taken away so much of what we fought for, because now people don't take us seriously anymore. They don't like trans people.
So people out there don't like trans people, and that's the point, isn't it? Trans people are facing ever such a lot of hate crime, bias, persecution, discrimination, prejudice, and that's what we're supposed to be working together to eliminate. And Buck, I wish you'd just come with us on that instead of just doing this thing where you're hurting your trans community.
They don't like trans people. They don't like to see somebody like me turn myself into a man. They feel deceived. They feel angry. Rightfully so.
Why rightfully so? Why is it right that anybody would feel hate and anger towards somebody who was once living as a woman and now lives as a man? Why is it rightfully so that anybody would feel that way?
We have doctors in our community who prescribe things like puberty blockers to young children.
Young children don't need puberty blockers. teenagers, adolescents, people starting puberty. They're the ones that need puberty blockers.
We have many studies that show this does not work.
We don't have many studies to show that this doesn't work. We have many studies to show that puberty blockers increase life satisfaction scores. They bring the risk of self-harm and suicide and poor mental health into line with non-trans children and adolescents. So no, Buck, you're wrong.
Why would you put a child on irreversible hormones, puberty blockers, same-sex hormones, without the understanding of the long-term effects that will do to a child?
The long-term effects of gender-affirming hormones are that you will develop the secondary sex characteristics associated with that hormone. So, for example, testosterone does what it's done to you, Buck. Listen to your voice, look at your beard, look at your bald head. That's what testosterone does. And that's exactly what trans people are asking. They're saying, please, can you make my hormones fit my gender identity? I don't understand why you're against that, Buck. You did it. You took them. You're still taking them now by the looks of things.
I am considered an elder in this community, yet I am looked down upon. I am ridiculed, called names, even called transphobic.
Oh, you're looked down upon and ridiculed. Maybe you are ridiculed for your views.
Because I do not believe in the way this community is headed. The LGB part of the community is about sexuality. The TQIA-MWPQIST is about something else.
So he's saying that LGB is fine, that's okay, but all the rest of it has caused great problems to the trans community and to the LGBT community. I think maybe I'm beginning to understand his point now. Oh my God.
It's about choices of identity.
Identity is not a choice. Your sexual orientation is not a choice. Your gender identity is not a choice.
It's about choices of living a life different than everybody else.
You choose how to live your life, for sure. And modern day LGBTQ plus activism works 100% towards allowing people to live their life how they want to live it, without restriction, without exclusion.
Today, the transgender community does not acknowledge the work I have done.
Buck, the work you're doing is hurting the transgender community. Why ever would they acknowledge it?
Facts and reality matter. They matter for everybody, not just LGBTQIA community. And when a community starts to fracture because they don't agree on things, that means the community is no longer a community. It is at war with itself. It is at war with doctors and psychiatrists and institutions that have now monetized what I have done. How they've monetized it? Point of information. They've monetized it through medical access to puberty blockers.
How can you say that medical access to puberty blockers is monetization? So all healthcare comes with a cost, whether it's public healthcare or private healthcare, you pay for it. You either pay for it through your taxes or you pay for it out of your pocket. But you can't say, Buck, that your money is declining because other people are making money from helping people with healthcare. I don't get that. That's weird.
We have something called detransitioners.
When people are debating trans rights and how we can help people and how we can help trans people live their lives more easily, and inclusion policies for trans people, and then they roll out the detransitioner, my eyes do not roll far enough back in my head. And to hear Buck, one of the community, rolling out the detransitioner.
A detransitioner is somebody who was told they were transgender.
They weren't told they were transgender.
Took medical, testosterone, puberty blockers, top surgery, bottom surgery, and decided that they made a mistake.
If you think that doctors and surgeons are making a living out of it by forcing it on trans people who don't need it or don't ask for it, you're completely and utterly wrong.
Detransitioners are a thorn in the side of the medical and transgender institution.
People who detransition, retransition, people who change their mind about procedures or medical pathways that they've gone down, they're not a thorn in the side of anybody. They need the same support and help and assurance that any other person going through healthcare needs. They're not a thorn in the side.
Because once we have people who are coming out and saying, I transitioned and made a mistake.
Of course we do. In every single walk of life, we have people who say, I wish I hadn't done that, I made a mistake. I can't think of one situation. I can't think of any marriage. I can't think of any house purchase. I can't think of any car purchase. I can't think of crossing the street. I can't think of any healthcare procedure where there aren't people who said, I wish I hadn't done that. This is not particular to transgender healthcare.
What does that mean to the medical world who is pushing people through who should have never been pushed through? There is no psychiatric evaluation. If a transgender person says they are transgender, they are transgender.
Why is it when we spent so many years taking gender incongruence out of the mental health category, are people like Buck saying, stop it, put everybody under psychiatric evaluation? Psychiatric evaluation is for mentally ill people, people with mental health illnesses. Those are the people who need mental health psychiatry evaluations. Not transgender people, Buck. You know that. Why are you saying it?
I will leave you with this, which is extremely controversial. I have a mental disorder. That mental disorder is called gender identity disorder.
We have spent years saying that gender identity is not a disorder. We've renamed it, we've reclassified it. We understand this is a beautiful part of human variation. Gender identity disorder. That is old and hateful and spiteful and hurtful terminology. Currently, the World Health Organization terminology is gender incongruence. That means incongruence means different or not matching. So gender incongruence, not gender identity disorder. And anybody listening, please, you have not got a disorder. There is nothing wrong with you.
I am not ashamed of my disorder.
Good.
I feel very empowered by my disorder.
Good.
Because I have my disorder under control.
Good.
When you demedicalize something that is a psychiatric problem.
The only reason that gender incongruence comes anywhere near the doctors is because some people want to switch their hormones. So that makes it a medical condition that needs a medical diagnosis so that you can have the medicines that stop your testicles producing testosterone or stop your ovaries producing estrogen. So we can't demedicalize this. We have to have the medical part. If people want to medically transition, we have to have the medical part. You can't medically undo this.
You are creating a bigger problem than you will ever even imagine. Detransitioners deserve love and respect.
They do, 100%.
Because they were told something that they were never.
They didn't detransition because they were told something that they never. They're detransitioners because they made informed choices that turned out not to be right for them.
I stand here today to tell you, transsexual people exist, transgender people exist, the LGBTQIA community should be separated.
Why? After all of this speech, have we become convinced that the LGBT community should be separated? I don't hear one argument for that.
There are two different factions now that need two different ways of being.
Well, I don't really agree with that. You know, the LGBT community have stood alongside each other for years and years. And in the 70s and 80s, there was much more colour and joy than there seems to be today. I don't hear the reason for the split. And actually, this motion was about whether modern day LGBTQ plus activism is harming the community. But it seems to me that Buck's motion here is just to put a split down and put LGB over there and T over there. I didn't think that was the motion. And I don't agree with it. And I haven't heard one argument in the whole of this to show why modern LGBTQ plus activism is harmful to the community. Buck, did you forget what the motion was? So the motion was that LGBTQ plus activism is harmful to the community. That was thrown out. There were more voters who opposed that motion than were for that motion. And actually, we need all the allies that we can get. So if you're sitting out there listening to conversations like this, let me tell you this. Trans people exist, they always have done. Today, there is a lot of noise about excluding trans people, and trans people are hurting. So if you want to join me as an LGBTQ plus activist, you'd be very, very welcome. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and don't forget that I write about this all day, every day on my website. Come and have a visit, I'll see you there. Link is below.